What? It will be perfect. No. That is a bit too much. I don't know what's going on. Well, let's check that all the screens have started the way that they should have. Twitch is looking good. YouTube is looking good. Right. So, small thing here. Because I play your audio component, I'm gonna have a look. Mute myself for a moment, and I'll see how that sounds on everybody's end. So, just 1 second. I'll be back in a Okay, to make that short, it sounds like fire. So let's see. I'm going to mute the background music. I just want to see what my voice sounds like right now. So, that does not sound good. Okay, that's a little bit more distorted. Let's come in here and let's reduce the distortion a little bit. Let's hope that this activates well enough, because I think that we might have a bit of an issue here. It might be to boost this some more. Let's send a check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of delay. Understandable. Okay. So currently the audio from the muted this stream. Let's check the other one. You sound like all right. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay-ish. I might have to check with changing around the overall thing, the overall composition of this. All right. Well, we're gonna deal with this one. I'm gonna have a check in between streams to figure out whether the voice can be improved. That would be interesting to see. That being said, I think it's a little bit quiet in terms of voice, because this should be the normal one. I'm going to activate the background music again to see how this compares. And I might have to ramp up the voice. Or I just need to speak louder. That's also an option. How does this work? Test 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is where it should be. Alright, let's compare it to background music now. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just going to be quiet for a moment while it plays in the background. Background music is way louder. Okay, I'm going to turn down the background music and I'm going to try again. Background music on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Background music off. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the delay is what, 30 seconds? That's quite a lot. Huh. That's that. Okay, the one thing that I did notice is that I do have an issue with the microphone quality. It's not particularly consistent. So if I even turn my head a little bit, it kind of ruins the recording slightly, which is not ideal. So I'm going to have to check and play around with that in between. For the time being, though, I will pop over to what I actually came here, what I want to talk about. So background music will go away. Well, it will go away in a moment once we go over here. I have ordered a new LED light that I'm going to try out. It will arrive on Thursday, and then I'll have a look. Hopefully, that will make all of this a little bit more well lit up. For the time being, this is unfortunately what we will have to deal with. Last time, we ended on this one not being glued quite as well as I was hoping. I have re-glued parts of it, as you can see. Let me lift this up. There's a lot more glue on here, which wasn't there before. You can see the light parts. I will scrape this off after I finish stitching this. Quite important, which I didn't think of at the time. Quite important if you, especially if you work with glue, but basically with any like process that is not quite obvious how it works. In terms of glues, we're talking about different glues behaving differently, being based on different processes. And in this case, what would have been the correct way to handle this would have been to follow the instructions on the tube, which sounds obvious. And I thought that I remembered what it was, but I didn't quite perfectly remember it. So for this glue, and I don't know how other leather glues work, but for this glue in particular, you're supposed to basically prepare both sides of the point where that you want to stick together. So both of the materials, you have to have a fairly rough surface. So you don't want anything like surface treated like this area. You have to rough it up, which is what we did. What I didn't do is read further because the next step would be to apply glue to both sides. So, left and right side of the adhesive surface or future adhesive surface. So you would glue these two sides. Then you let it dry for like 10 to 30 minutes. And then you stick them together and then you apply a shit ton of pressure. And once you do that, sorry for the here. That's not going to be very advertiser friendly. Not that I do have any advertisers. Uh, yeah, this what that does is this will bond it together. So it's they do say it on the tub. It's more important. The amount of pressure applied is more important than the duration over which it is applied. So you apply loads of it at once. They even recommend using one of these, which is what I ended up doing. So I did hammer that using, well, basically this one as an overlay. So laid down, glued it, put this on top, put the wooden thing on top of that, and just hammered it. More than this, uh, went quite serious on it, and that now sticks together a lot better than before. Uh, what I didn't do this time and the first time is I did let this dry long enough, which resulted in lots of the glue coming out the side. If you leave it a little bit longer, if you let it dry, which of course I couldn't do anymore because this was already stuck together for the most part. But if you let this dry and you don't apply too much of it, as always, you should be able to not have this much glue sticking out the side. What I'm going to do is once I have stitched all of this together, I'm going to go over this again with the file. I'm going to take off the surface of the glue, which like that will actually wear that down and will bring up the original. Last time I did treat this already, so this would be okay to leave, but it doesn't look very nice. So I will basically remove the material, the surface material, including the glue that has come out of the seams, and I will reapply the bunching gum to the side. I did demonstrate that last time, so that we will not be filming. That will be fine. I will then take a couple of photos. Well, once I'm done with everything, I'll take photos of the finished product, and I will do the video about this, which will not be the first in the series. There will be 3-ish videos beforehand, 2 or 3. Not quite sure how many yet, because I'm not quite sure which videos I will end up with doing. There will be one about how to get into hobbies or start new stuff in general. And there will be one about getting into streaming. Whether that will probably just be streaming, that will probably not be starting a new series. Maybe it will be both. We'll have to see. For the time being, we want to continue with this one, and we want to start, we will continue by stitching the rest of this. As soon as I have this disentangled, which shouldn't be too difficult. I have not yet measured out whether we actually have enough thread for this, but we should be good. Again, we have been quite generous with this. I'm just trying to remember all the things that I did last time, because I think I have it the other way around. I'm not quite sure anymore. Oh, yeah, I definitely did, because I was teaching this away from myself. With the application of the new glue, I did have to go in there with this one again to widen the holes, because I had glued shut some of the holes. I hope that this has remained, but it will make things a little bit more difficult, I can already tell. All right, so it doesn't really matter whether I'm going like towards myself or away from myself when it comes to the direction in which we progress. That's really not that important. All right. We're going to let this slip through, and we're going to pull this towards us. Then we're going to pull this down, pull this straight, and pull this into the middle by doing this. In here, we don't really want to see you anymore. We don't want to see you come out on the other side either. So, good. putting this tight, and that should be okay. Yep, actually should be okay. All right, next one. Putting this into the groove over here, so that only one side slips. There. Yeah, you want to make sure that your fingers aren't in the way, because this thing can punch through leather. And believe me, the leather is more resistant than your skin. So yeah, when you're using tools like these, which are meant to deal with stuff that is tougher than human skin, human bones, human anything, you want to make sure that your human anything isn't in the way. Because the tool that is meant to deal with something tougher than you will have no trouble dealing with you, and that is not something that you want to experience. Believe me that. Right. So I will talk about a couple of other things while I'm doing this, because otherwise this would get boring really, really quickly. So one of the reasons why I made this, why I'm starting to make this kind of hobbyist series, is that I've seen a lot of not just people with extensive like workshops doing this, like you see, a leather worker that has like $100,000 of equipment in his leather workshop, and he has a million tools, and he's telling me how to, or he's demonstrating how to do these fine, intricate leatherworking techniques using for like tools. I always forget the name. Uh, wallets, like leather wallets and stuff. Or you have paper makers that show you how to make intricate sorts of papers, or how to make like intricate uh, gift cards or greeting cards or stuff like that. You have people that have $200,000 lathes in their woodworking shop, and they demonstrate how to do lathe work, and it's all the stuff that you can't really, or you don't want to make that investment in the beginning. So you're looking at that and you get really easily discouraged, because it's not really a good way, a good starting video for that. And yeah, that's part of it, which is why I went through the demonstration of all the tools. But there's another part of it, and that is, which I've come to see quite well, actually less of recently, and this particularly involves electricity, but also other things. In woodworking, there are like the table saws where people make kind of meme videos about how dangerous they can be if used wrong, and there are enough like sets of instructions. There are tons of examples really, but if you look at other things, there's a lot of videos that if I had a child, I wouldn't let them watch those, because they are not very, well, they don't really raise the awareness of how dangerous what is demonstrated in those videos is. And in part, and this has been the case in the past, that was in part due to the sheer level of ignorance of the person demonstrating it. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, a while ago, well, a year or a couple of years back, you had tons of these like videos where people prepared wood in using electricity, and they made these like burn patterns that look like trees on them. And if you look now, you probably won't find many of those. The reason for that is most of those people are dead. Because what they did is they did something that was really stupid. They bypassed all the safety mechanisms that are built into your home to keep you from electrocuting yourself by using a microwave transformer. Yeah, then they electrocuted themselves to death, which they admittedly they didn't know about. well, most of them didn't know about the danger themselves. So that's a bit of a problem, but they also popularized that. Nowadays, again, we don't have, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any of those anymore. I still see one or two of those videos around from time to time, but they don't really go uh, into the point of how to set that up for yourself. So I think you're fairly safe in that regard. But what they do, what I have seen more of is uh, supposedly professional people screwing around. So a couple of engineers, a couple of electricians, people that have years and years of experience. And I don't doubt that they themselves know what is dangerous and what is safe. And they, from what I've seen in the videos, they're only doing the stuff that they consider to be safe, or relatively safe at least. But it doesn't look particularly safe, and they don't tell you why they consider it to be safe and how to set up something safe. And most importantly, they don't tell you what wouldn't be safe. So if you are an idiot, well, or you're not very experienced with electricity, which is mostly everybody, let's face it, the average person doesn't really know much about electricity or what is deadly and what isn't in terms of electricity. So if people then go ahead and copy that, they won't know which parts are important to keep and which parts they can modify. So the electric loop that you set up as a professional, that you know because of the voltages and amperage involved is perfectly safe. Yeah, it might fry your maybe the safety that you have, which of course you have. It might trip the jumper, but that's it. Is it called a jumper in the US? I don't know. So it might trip that, but it's perfectly safe for you to do so. You know that you're fine, but you don't demonstrate it because all you did was a short, which is, well, short. It's funny, it doesn't leave like space for showing the entire safety process. And generally speaking, that's not what people come to the short for. So even if you link that, which most people again still don't, which is another topic that we need to talk about in the future. What are shorts for? Yeah, if you don't give them adequate access to that, you will cause people to harm themselves through your videos, and that is not a good idea. So what I'm going to do is, if and I will try making these into like 30-minute videos, hopefully not longer, maybe 2 15-minute videos, depending on what it is. I don't know what the format will be, to be entirely honest. There are a couple of options. What I do want to include, and I know those things, flip a little bit. That's fine. Not too great. Like you can see the loop here. Actually, look at this one. You can see it where it looped around, which is not what I want. Actually, if I pull on this one a little bit more, does this pull that in a little bit? So yeah, that worked. Okay, perfect. So yeah, you want to, when you do this, always have a look at how the last one is looking, because you might have to do some correcting in that regard, so that you don't see stuff that you don't want to see. And when it comes to videos, okay, let's get back to that. So what I want to include is kind of your starting tool set that you need for the project. What is a good project, in my opinion, to begin with? In this case, like leather sheath are something that is quite simple, but anything that is like leatherworking, few parts, very simple stitching lines, maybe even something that you can glue together. In which case, especially in those cases, read the instructions on the glue. You don't need the burnishing gum on the side if you can just leave that open. I would recommend a file, technically not necessary. Again, the punches, you don't really need them if you don't need to do the stitching. If you use particularly thin leather and you only have 2 layers, you technically wouldn't even need that then. I would still recommend it, but you could probably do just with the hole driver. I don't know how difficult that would be. I never tried it. Again, wouldn't recommend that because you might, well, if it's 3 layers, and even with the holes being punched, that's still tough to get through. So I would use the hole punches if you want to do stitching. Gotta be honest. There are a couple of other tools that I don't own, which are used for more intricate work. Again, this is not part of my initial project, so I didn't buy them. And that is what I would recommend doing as well. Only buy the stuff that you actually need. Even if you see a bigger kit on discount, if you're not using 90% of the tools, that's just wasted money. And if you figure out that you don't like leatherworking, or that particular type of leatherworking, then you might be willing to buy the other stuff and try it out. Like try out some other project that involves different steps when it comes to the making. But if it turns out that's not for you, you won't have wasted a ton of money on that. And yeah, that's the main concern that I have when buying these tools. It did take some learning. Like I have a lot of leatherworking tools that I have not used yet, that I bought a long time ago, like over 20 years ago, which I have never used, like embossing stuff that I literally have never actually done anything with, except for buying it and then having it lying around. I always wanted to do that. I never got around to it. I didn't. I even had a little project for it. I don't know why I never got into it. It's kind of weird. At the time, I did have other stuff to do, so maybe that was it. Again, it was like over 20 years ago, so couldn't really tell you at this point why I never did that. But yeah, now I do. So today I want to finish the stitching on this. The trickiest part is something that will come up at the end, which is the finishing of this stitching, which is something that I haven't really gotten to grips with, and I think I haven't really pulled enough on the last couple of stitches here. Not good, because that will mean that they stand out a little bit too much. It should be good. Again, this is something that I note that I will have to take further note of in the future and make sure that I don't screw around too much with that. Screw that up too much, I should say. Because this could be problematic if you ever do this on a bigger scale. Like if you're involving more costly materials. Because again, like this is something where the materials are cheap, where the tools that I use are fairly cheap. I don't think I have spent more than $100 on all of this. And yes, that sounds expensive, but it does include the top of glue, the burnishing gum, some leather treating, leather, universal leather. What's balsam in? Well, it's essentially beeswax, which is a surface treatment thing for leather. And yeah, a couple of specific shears, which in hindsight, like I didn't know that you could, for this type of leather, you could use other shears. They are still handy. If I were to rebuy them, I would probably not buy the shears. I would use one of the leather knives because they are much more universally applicable. You can do more stuff with them. You can like cut cut away, but then you can thin out the material with them. You can like do straight cuts from the front while having this stable on the surface instead of holding it in your hand, which is actually worth quite a lot. Which is why I'm not particularly fond of the shears. I would not buy them again, to be entirely honest. Uh, it's not that they're badly made, anything. It's just that I believe that those knives might be better to use, even for the applications that I do use these shears now. And they have more applications on top. That looks good. Use okay. Next one. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm standing right now with all of this. What else? What else? Hmm. All right. We are coming to the area where we screwed up on the punching, which is over here, making the holes. It's going to be a bit painful once we arrive there. The regluing has helped there as well. This was actually part of the area that wasn't doing very well. Of course, that meant I had to re-punch those holes, or I had to go in there and make those holes again. I didn't use the punch, but I did use the whatever this one, the needling tool, the widening tool, whatever you want to call it. Okay. More? Yes, definitely more. Are you looking otherwise? You're looking good. You're looking good. So there are a couple of things that I need to mention. Like this leather, even the single layer is fairly thick, actually, compared to something like goat's leather or similar things. This is all cow leather. Some of it cut down to thinner sizes or taken from areas where the leather is thinner to begin with. I do not know. I'm not an expert on that. But it's all cow's leather. Other types of leather are thinner, and those thinner ones generally come on a backing of fabric. And those, funnily enough, you can actually machine stitch on like a regular machine. You need a specific needle for it, like a larger one, but you can just machine stitch it, which is quite nice because it will make for a more homogeneous picture in the stitches, which otherwise would require a ton of skill to do. Because as you can tell, well, if you can tell this from this one, the stitching is not uniform. Even the holes aren't particularly. The holes don't look particularly uniform right now, but a good portion of that is just that the stitching sits differently in each hole, and that makes it look even worse. I admit, like the stitching on this isn't perfect, quite far from it. But yeah, the punched holes aren't uniform either. They're not like um, a continuous line. But the problems of me not being able to do justice to the stitching, which I just realized I have some real back here that looks awful. I thought I paid attention to that, but apparently not, because this is just awful. Okay. I mean, if you can do it like this and just leave it open on one side completely, like just pull it to one side, that's fine as well. But then do it all this at the same rate, because otherwise it will look very uneven. Are you actually in the middle? You look like you're in the middle. No, not quite. Now, good enough. Yeah, I can still see a little bit of that here, but I'm not going to correct that. That's fine. All right. Again, this is just for myself, so it's nothing that anyone else will get to see. I'm fine with that. It means I can apply my own level of scrutiny and my own level of quality requirement. Ow, ow. Uh, Tricked myself twice there. I guess would be the correct term. Yes, it would be the correct term, even if it sounds sus. All right, let's pull that in to the middle. A little bit to the back. Tight. And yeah, like this string is very strong. So uh, unless you are someone that is like trained in rock climbing, you can pull it full force. There will be very, very few people that will actually be able to rip this string apart. And if you are able to, then you're either very strong or something was wrong with the string to begin with. Those are the only two options. This should normally hold anything that your average person can do with their hands. Oh. So let's see this. Oh, that was far too far. Okay, that hole is a little bit larger, so you don't need that much pressure applied. I have to actually pull this through, so gotta be careful on that. Good. All right, that is the first roughly half done. It's actually not quite half. Might be a little bit less, but who's counting? In front of me. Um, so technically this side, I suppose. Oh, 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 don't, don't do whatever it is you're doing right now. Yeah, pulling at this full force doesn't do anything. It does pull this one tighter, so depending on the material used, you might want to be careful with that you don't like pull the string through the fabric. But again, we are not really using fabric here, we're using leather. It's resilient to this kind of thing. That is why we are using it in the first place, after all. Okay, next one. So yeah, today I wanted to get this done, get this finished. The stitching. I might file this down and apply the burnishing on, and that would mean I am then done with this, which would be great. Let's see. I do want to do another stream, a gaming stream afterwards, but that will be like at 8 p.m. So in another 2 hours. I have to pay attention here. Move this around. Always pay attention to what you're doing. Quite important, not just in this. Again. So yeah, I want to do like in 2 hours, 3 hours. I want to do another gaming stream. Uh, Maybe even in 4 hours. I'll have to see. Don't want to get it too late because I will have to go back to work tomorrow. Today I have the day off and I played on OBS a lot to set everything up. That's different today, which does include the audio shenanigans earlier, which we tested. So beforehand, I had everything arranged in like the desktop audio that included background and everything. You could hear the music from the games because that's how the games were set up. Sorry, because the game put out to standard audio, and I basically captured standard audio and put that into the stream. which is workable, but it means certain things don't work. Like you'll get an echo if you're trying to listen to your own stream on the same device, and all of that. Of course, after looking into what monitoring is, I found the options um, to do that as individual sources, which I then did. But the problem what I didn't find is how to actually activate the monitoring. So right now, the stuff that should go to the monitoring output, according to OBS settings, doesn't go to the monitoring output, which is a little bit strange. So I will have to have another look at that. That is for later. That is most definitely for later. Wrap that up itself either. This one. Yeah, this will look very awkward now. Now we're at the point where I screwed up. Punched through the side basically of this. So need to be a little bit careful here with the next one. And it will, even if I am careful, it will not, well, it will probably not look particularly good. Definitely. Oh dear. Yeah, but not only that one, but the last one also has to for then. Okay, yep, that looks better. Pull you in here. Go. All right. Yep, good. Good. All right. What are you doing? You're supposed to be the good one. Oh, it is turning a little bit too much for my taste, but I will just have to be a little bit careful here. Yeesh. Not a fan of this. Not a fan at all. Yeah. Oh, great. Let's come out. Okay. This is going to be as good as it's going to get. Well, I mean, even if this like goes wrong, breaks at some point, it will probably be a lot further down the line. So I'm not going to worry about that. The fact that this ripped even more is not ideal, but that is just how these things go at this point. So don't worry about it too much. Just don't worry about it too much, and you will be good. Yeah, I mean, there is a reason why that is something for myself, not for anyone else. In this look, you're still looking good. You're still looking good. Well, good relative in this case, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine. This one will never look like pleasant. Let me move that up to the camera. Like this one looks, yeah, I mean, that's a little bit good, but I completely miscalculated how this would work on the other side. Yeah, this was just crooked. It wasn't overlapped very well, and therefore the outside wasn't overlapping very well. And I didn't notice before I punched the holes, so that is what happened, and now I've completely entangled myself. Fantastic. You come over here, you rest over here, you remain over here. Okay. So we are slightly, like in this area, we are even slightly closer to the edge anyway, so gotta be a little bit careful about not ripping anything apart. As far as that's possible, where it doesn't, where it hasn't already happened or is inevitable, where it is inevitable, that's what it is. Where it's already happened, well, very little you can do about that. And by very little, I mean nothing. So that's probably, like, if this gets ever seen by a professional leather worker, they will probably, um, how would you say that? Despair would probably be an adequate reaction to this. Um, that would be understandable from my perspective. Let me put it like that. What I'm doing here is not particularly pretty, but it is what it is. Like, I am not on a professional level. I don't claim to be, quite the opposite. Sorry. Yeah. So if you're watching this and you think that I'm an amateur or the way that I do this, yeah, I am. That's kind of the point. I am an amateur and I will end up with something that is still usable for the purpose. And if I do this another 5, 10, 15 times, I might even be able to make something that is presentable. Who knows? We might find out, we might never find out. I do still have a bunch of those projects. I will not stream all of those because sitting here and basically talking over me pulling strings through pieces of that animal skin is not exactly the most riveting thing to do for me either. I would much rather game or concentrate on just doing this. That would make for a very, very poor stream performance. I can guarantee you that. Why are you so reluctant to work here? Work with me. Come on. So what helps with uniformity? Doing the same motions over and over and handling the string and the stitching the same way, that is very helpful. Even if it looks off, like doing everything in the same off way will result in the stitches looking the same, maybe off way. And looking the same is more important than looking good in this case. Because you can then claim that was intentional. If they look all over the place, I mean, if they consistently look all over the place, that's fine as well. You can still claim that, yeah, that was intentional and wanted every stitch to look different. But if you've got some that look really nice and good and uniform, and some that look really off, that might evoke a different impression, shall we say, on the side of the beholder. No, not the D&D monster. Yes, I do know D&D. Well, I say D&D, mostly Pathfinder, to be honest. Pathfinder 2, to be absolutely honest, at least on the current game systems that I'm using, although there are quite a few Pathfinder games that we still have. Well, two Pathfinder games and one Pathfinder 2 game. Now I've gone completely off topic. Great. All right. What else can I say about this? I had the knife in here for testing purposes. I can't remember whether I did that on stream last time, but it was working astonishingly well for what this is. So I'm quite happy with that. Surprisingly good. All right. Again, once you get like into the groove, that will like your stitching will improve naturally. Um, just like when something does go wrong, do remember what you did, and then change that part up to try something else. That is kind of the point of learning what works and what doesn't. Of course, you can just look up an online tutorial, which I guess this should be, but then I would recommend looking up an online tutorial by someone that actually knows what they're talking about, which this is definitely not. Why did you go over this? Why do you have to be like this? Yeah, push this down, pull this through. If it comes through all the way, fine. If it doesn't, fine. I pull this into the middle. I check that the previous ones still are where they should be. Make sure that I can't see the point where they cross, which I can't. So that's great. And then go to the next one. Just in there. There you go. Into the groove with you. And poke, poke. Break that. That was good for earlier. Poked myself twice. Sounds a lot less suspicious. This side, yes, you will. Okay. Through. Pull that to the middle. Middle, I said. I'll see you. Can see you a little bit. I'll see you. I'll see you. Pull. Bang. Now I can see you. Pull you out of here. Pull it further into the middle. Right. Yeah, that looks good. Now pull you back to the middle. Not too far. Also looking good. Good. Fix you in place as best as we can. And next one. We're 2/3 done. The entire thing. Through. Dang it. Through. Pull you back, but be careful. It's a lot harder than I first expected. Pull you through. On the right side. You are. Alright. This will be a lot easier to pull to the middle, but it's also going to be a lot easier to pull through. So what I did twice now. Okay, good, good. Pull. And nope, gotta be further in. Pull. Good. Uh, Borderline. The two borderline. This would be good. Yeah. All right. Next. So there are other techniques of stitching this. I'm using for the double-sided. I have one string going, well, one half of the string going on one side and the other half of the string going on the other side. And they loop into each other at every stitch, which is one way of doing that. That is the one that I prefer because it does the best distribution of force, like the force that I'm using only puts it together, it doesn't like crunch it up as much. If I only did one string and I looped it, like the string would try to pull these together and just together. It would be only the material that would be applying pressure every half step because the string would ever be on one side of it. So this would put more strain on the material, which again we are talking about leather, so should be fine, but this will improve longevity in that regard. So that is also something to keep in mind. Yes, that this will use more string, about 30% more, depending on, well, actually more than, no, about 50% more. What am I talking about? About 50% more? Sorry, 100% more, so double. The 50% were 50% of 100, is what you would say. Yeah, it uses about 100% more string, the double the string than you would in the simple stitching where you just go making your way through. Because I have to do that twice essentially, except that I have one. Don't know what that's called in English. Oberläufige und unterläufige Fragen. Here now, that is still not visible. And that is looking good, and looking good, and the other ones are still looking good. Yes. Next one. Make sure that the other strings out of the way as well. Here, important later on. And that it doesn't loop over the needle like so. Really. What do you have to do like this? Geht natürlich was eine Beobachtung. How can I remove this? There we go. You, my friend, you are banned. Thank you very much. Right. So out of the first 4 people that did chatted on Twitch, 2 of them were bots trying to sell viewers on a platform that I'm not going to mention. Oh dear. Why would I pay for this? Like this is my hobby. It's supposed to be my hobby. I know that if you're trying to make this into your job, which I wouldn't mind doing, like if that is the result, if I can attract the viewership, then sure. But if I can't attract the viewership, then why would I pay for this? I'm paying to get paid? What? What are we? Oh, is Twitch running an MLM? No, of course I aren't. Well, I'd have to look at the definition. I don't think they are, by definition, running an MLM. I guess if you would if Twitch were to entice streamers to get their viewers into streaming, then that would qualify as an MLM? I don't know. I'm gonna leave that up to you. Okay. Go through there. Pull that through. Don't loop around it. Great. Takes a bit of time. Pull that through here. Check that you didn't pull anything that you didn't want to pull. That looks good. A little bit further in. See how you look now. That actually looks good. All right. 75% of the way done. Hey. Oh, roughly. Yeah. So the point with projects like this is the steps that you're doing are so short, so that by the end of you doing this stitching work, for instance, or the punching holes, that's basically when you are at the point, well, when you feel like you've learned something, and if you don't do that again right away, it feels like you're losing that progress. I don't think that's entirely accurate. I think that even if you have like a week of pause in there, fine. I wouldn't recommend doing what I did, which was do this in 2020 and then never touch it again until 5 years later. Which I think is about how long I've had the other sheath. Maybe not quite, maybe it's a little less. But I'm quite certain that the leatherworking is something that I did like 3 to 5 years ago. And then never touched again. So, I mean, there was a reason. I did have a little bit of an interruption in 2022. 2022? Yeah, I think it was 2022. Which, no, it wasn't the virus. It was something different. Potentially caused by it or adjacent. Well, one of the side effects of it. Side effect, of course, being that everything closed down. That might have resulted in a little interruption on my end, but that is completely irrelevant outside. Ow! Again, poked myself. Outside of having interrupted my leatherworking at the time. So what I want to check in terms of streaming in general is I want to see how well I can get information from YouTube and Twitch. I already checked on, so this is about viewing statistics and what I should be streaming. So here's the idea. I like streaming like hobbyist stuff, and I like streaming gaming stuff. So gaming is a little bit more relaxing because it's a lot less to set up. My workbench, for instance, is not permanent. It has been permanent over the last couple of weeks because I've been doing like this leatherworking on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. But like for streaming games, I just sit down, set up the stream, and then I start, and I'm good. I don't have to set up my workbench. I don't have to collect all my tools. I don't have to look into all the materials that I might need. I can chat about the game itself, which because the hobbyist streams are meant to be basically zero involvement, so zero prior knowledge. That's kind of a little bit of a problem. Yes, I also go into quite a few of my game streams without zero prior knowledge, but I can still talk about comparing it to other games. Like comparing it to other hobbies is quite difficult because my experience with other hobbies, yes, there are some like we can talk about camping or cycling or what would you call that? Not wandering. Backpacking? No, backpacking would just be out there. Hiking is the one. Uh, like those are all things that I've done in the past. But when it comes to other hobbies like this, like you might want to talk about how does leatherworking compare to woodworking? Uh, like it's with wood. It's about what I can tell you. You need different tools, like you need saws and uh, well, you still need hammers for some things. But sometimes you need different hammers, and you need lots of different hammers, and you need saws, and you need um, what are they called? What are they called? Uh, well, depending on what you want to do, you might want to lathe. But if you're talking simpler tools, what are the might that would be stone masonry. Um, but yeah, that's tons of different tools with different names. Depending on what you want to do. Again, much more complex when it comes to the tooling part, uh, primarily because there is a lot more different tooling involved when you're working with tree stuff instead of when you're working with like animal skins. Animal skins is an animal skin is an animal skin is an animal skin. Yes, you have to do different things beforehand, but once they reach the leatherworking stage, they have been made into leather. Like all the free stuff that you might get into contact with when you're woodworking, because if you want to get free wood, depending on where you live, this might be more or less easy. Like I can go into the woods and I can just collect a stick and make that into something, into a walking stick or anything. Uh, is that fully legal? Technically not. Like that stick is either part of a nature reserve or it's part of a private property. But you've just picked up a stick, like no one is going to complain about that unless you do that like every week and you walk out there with like 10 sticks each time. That's basically collecting wood, not just picking up a stick. So, yeah, picking up sticks is kind of a grey area in that regard. You can't really do that with leatherworking. That would be quite difficult. Like going onto a field and trying to skin a sheep is somehow somewhat frowned on. Frowned upon or frowned upon. I couldn't tell you why. Some strange sensibilities about not killing animals, I suppose. Oh yeah, talking about not killing animals, the leather that I'm using was either stuff that would have gone into the garbage bin, so it's very much something that the animal involved in the processing would have very little complaint about at that point. All I'm doing is preventing someone to kill another animal just to get this little bit of material. And the other stuff that I've actually bought was stuff from a small, well, it was either like, what would you call it? I wouldn't call it overhead, but it's basically stuff that they would have thrown away, like cut-offs and stuff, smaller stuff that they couldn't work with anymore. Or the other one, I did buy a full goat skin. That came from a small farm where the goat did die of natural causes, and they just collected the skin afterwards. So they just the animal died not for them collecting skin; it just died naturally, and I think that is fair. At that point, it prevented another animal being killed just to get lot of leather out of it. So I think that is the most humane thing that I can do in that regard. Yes, I am aware that not everybody will agree with this. That oh no, this shouldn't be done at all. I disagree. That's all I can say about this. I'm going to try to make this as humane as possible by not getting animals slaughtered just to get the leather from them. But I don't like using fake leather for this because it is lower quality, it doesn't feel as nice, and if I can make this as humane as possible, I don't see the problem in doing that. Yeah, might be a little bit controversial, but that's how I see it. But let me know your thoughts. Oh, something that I wanted to mention that I found quite interesting was I saw people talking about, not on my screen by the way, no surprises there, but I saw people talking about mentioning the usual like YouTube stuff of subscribe and ring the bell and press this button and do this for me. I was of the opinion of not doing that type of reminder, but in that stream, what they mentioned was if I get reminded, so it was the person talking about it, they mentioned that if they get reminded of it, they do it if they like the content and they don't consider it, like if you don't do it at the beginning of the video, obviously, but like, throughout the video at some point, if you go, to mention that, it's perfectly fine because if you don't, they will forget to do that, even if they would love to like subscribe and get the notifications. They will just forget it because that is the culture of current YouTube. Like you will just go to the next video. You will simply not remember it. I think it's partly because, and I've noticed that with myself as well. There was a time on YouTube where I used um, the subscribed page a lot, where I basically had that as my feed. But then there was so much coming in there, and especially with live streams and stuff, that admittedly, I only watched live streams for a very, very short time because I simply don't have the time for it. But yeah, I did watch them for a little bit, and at that time, my viewing habits shifted quite a bit, and I realized that using the subscription page was not becoming viable anymore. So it didn't fulfill its function anymore of having a look at what were the videos from the people that I subscribed to, because the algorithm set my homepage a lot better, and I didn't only want to watch the stuff that I'm subscribed to. Like there was other stuff out there that I wanted to see that I might be interested in, and just going through my subscribe page just wasn't cutting it. It doesn't give you the new stuff, obviously. So I actually shifted away from that, which, I mean, it does pose the question, what is subscription for on YouTube? Like on Twitch, that's fine, you get a notification. That's great. On YouTube, like I'm gonna get the suggested stuff anyway on my front page. Did that the wrong way? Yes, I did. So I don't really need that anymore, but I still kind of want that. Do I want that? I mean, I don't use the notifications on YouTube at all. I don't think they're worthwhile. I don't watch every video, even from the channels that I am subscribed for, that I am subscribed to. So I don't really need the notification. page. I don't need to activate those. I'm not using the subscribe page anymore, so same reason. Like I don't watch all the videos from all the channels that I'm subscribed to. It's more of a show off. Yeah, I like this channel, which I guess that is probably the function that it will fulfill, even for the algorithm that fills your front page nowadays. Front page, that means landing page, by the way, for those that aren't familiar with that. Front page, home page, landing page, it's all the same in this case, at least for YouTube. Yeah, so I think they should probably revamp that, that subscriber thing, because what was a subscriber previously is kind of feels more like a membership nowadays, where you are actively interested in that few select channel. And once you had watched that, you would go to the front page and look for more, which is not really viable anymore nowadays because there's so much stuff that even once you've accumulated a certain amount of channels that you're subscribed to, you would not run out of content if you watched every video of them. Even if you didn't watch every single video, you would still very quickly run out of time to watch new stuff. So yeah, I think they might want to rebrand that. I've gone completely off topic actually, but we are going towards the end of this task anyway. At least the stitching part. So how much more? After this, another 2. Fantastic. Then we are done. We will file that down. We will do the burnishing. One thing that I do want to try, and this was suggested to me by someone in my family. Well, technically, no. I suggested it to them, but I still find it an interesting prospect because they wanted me to do some of these, and I told them, yeah, but if you want to do, they asked about something else. They wanted the material for something, and I said, why not try using boiled leather instead? Why not just try boiling this leather? I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I kind of want to try it for the inlay that we're doing in the middle. I kind of want to try boiling that and making that a more stable structure, but because right now it spends like there's no tomorrow, and if you boil that, that should harden to a similar hardness as wood. I don't know whether this thin of a material will behave the same way. The boiled leather that I've seen is always like full thickness, like full 4 to 6 to 8 millimeters thick, and that behaves very much like you'd expect. But I would be interested to see how this like pre-treated furniture leather behaves, whether that changes anything. Because if that works the same way, that would be fantastic to make these kind of sheath, because the surface will remain like soft, and the edges will become rigid, allowing you to keep the shape and actually putting some pressure on this so that it doesn't flop about quite as much. Would also improve the protection that this gives. So on this one, what I did on the other one is I began at the top. Well, on the other one I didn't have to because the top was folded over. But I'm going to keep that in mind for the future. I kind of want to begin at the top, go around, and then at the bottom I want to do the it's not welding. What's the other one? The other process for joining metals is by good grief, I can't remember. Give me a moment. I'm gonna check that what the name was. Leo. Why did you not go there? rivet. Right. So on the other one, I have a rivet at the bottom end of this, which I didn't want to do here on this one, so I didn't care which side I started on, but I kind of would have preferred to start up here and then go around and down here. It's one of the ways to hide the finishing touches on this, because the rivet will actually cover up a larger area. Again, if this were down here, that would be perfect. It would reinforce this part of the sheath as well. This way, it's still fine, but finishing this up can be a bit of hassle, and I think I've already ducked it up a little bit, because you kind of want to do this on both of these last two. So I will have to pull this out, because I got to double stitch this backwards. Because you don't want to put all the stress at the edge of the material, you kind of want it one in. So I could just punch it through afterwards again, which is also an option. Let's see how this goes. So on this one, I want to get both of those all the way through. That way I don't have to worry about getting this stuff, any issues with this stuff. Pretty good on that. Right. So I can now pull you through completely. I can now pull you through completely. The problem with that statement is that I kind of, if I try to do a knot in here, in the second to last, I have the original string in there, and I've got the overlapped one as well. So that's less than ideal. What I could be doing, first of all, I need to check that this is all right. Yeah, it is. What I could be doing is let me pull this back. I could. Please don't poke me in the finger right now. That would not be nice. Great. I don't want to move it out there. One. Out. Yeah, I was being an idiot. I didn't think about. Again, I didn't think about this beforehand, which is always a bad choice. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a knot in here. So quite important things about this knot. We kind of want this to sit in the middle. So what we've got to do is we've got to pull this through, and then we've got to pull this flat and make sure that the knot is where it's supposed to be. And yes, this is going to be very simple. It's going to be very quote unquote easy. I don't really want this to be visible. I'm going to pull it towards the middle. Number one. And then we're going to cross that over again. Yes, I could go to the outside of this. Like I could just do it on this side and close it up as behind or on top. I don't really want to do that. Like I can make a knot up here, which wouldn't look nice. I could make a knot back here, which wouldn't look particularly nice. Hiding this inside would be fantastic. That is a bit tricky, though. It actually is. Now, another easy way to do this, And yeah, I kind of pass around with this a little bit too much. Um, you can just like poke this through, because if you do that twice and cross it over twice, then what you've done is a knot. So problem again is this will put a load of stress on this part, because you're now having not one crossover but two crossovers in here. Really not what you want. The last bit. So I am thinking of reverting that back to the last one and doing that again, but that will also put a lot of stress on that one, but it's not on the edge as much as this one. So let's have a look how that goes. If it had that on the other side, because the other side was a little bit more stable in this regard. Still a little bit iffy. I'm not happy with this. Okay. So the needle is thin. Can I get that through here? Yes, this is the short answer. I'm going to do that. Okay. Now what I can do, I can push that through here. And you have to go back. And pull you through. Push you through to the other side. Again. Pull you through first. Brilliant work. Brilliant work, my friend. Fantastic work. Oh, you're actually. Oh, you are this one. Oh, you've pierced through that. Pull you through first completely. All right. Now we're going to push you back through. Be careful not to poke yourself. Right. Now we have a loop. Okay. And through this one, we can push the other string up to the middle. And in theory, we could do that again. We probably should. This, however, will not look very nice. Alternatively, we can try to get this in between the string and the leather, right there. This is why I said I kind of fucked this up already, because this is what I would have wanted to do in order to make this a little bit easier on myself. Right. The same we will do with this one over here. Push it through there. yeah, like this is not for like prolonged outdoor use. Um, it's not meant to be like super rough and ready. It is just something that we kind of use inside to protect the blade. So it doesn't need to be the most superbly resistant to any kind of force or influence or whatever. We just want this very, very basic thing from it. Yes, I am making excuses here. I'm aware. Okay, so with that, we could probably just leave it at that. Just cut this off a little bit here and we should be good. Like leave that standing a little bit. We could wrap this around another once or twice if we really wanted to. But to be entirely honest, with the amount of friction that the string has over everything, and like this is glued, if we leave just a little bit of string outside of this, should be good. I think. I don't regret not having done that then. But yeah, again, I'm gonna cut this off. And we should be good. I will one last thing. I will push this through here again, and that will essentially be it. Oh, I actually punched through the leather side that. Come on, come on, come on! Don't be like this. Are you kidding me? Come on, right through there. There you go. There you go. Now, there will also be people pointing out that I could have used a um, straight needle. To those that say you are correct. This I mainly use, if you look back on this screen, I mainly use this to uh, loop this through the loop that I created with this one, and for that it was perfectly fine. It was completely unnecessary to do anything with that, anything else. So, doesn't really matter that much what I did or didn't do with it. At that point, now I would say you are correct. I wish I had done that. But again, hindsight is always 20, especially now since we're in 2025. Oh, oh. All right. I can do that again, but I will try. No, doesn't really budge anymore. Too much stuff in there right now. Okay, but that also means it's kind of safe to cut this off right there and be done with it. I think that is what we will be doing. Even on this side, you don't see the knot anymore. This has been pulled to the metal. It's fine. Okay. If this comes undone, then we will have to redo parts of it. So that would be the consequence. Let's hope that doesn't happen. light is there. All right, now I could use some fire to reduce this down a little bit more. This is a wax spring. It has wax in it. Wax spring, I suppose. Not really that necessary. As for how this works now, it does work. So hold it edge away from you. You have this little bit to slide that in to lay that on, and this is the result. It's a fairly decent fit. You can see a little bit over here, which is not ideal. I could still cut this back a little bit. On the other hand, this is a fairly decent fit. It will leave this edge protected. Not perfect. Again, I probably will try. Well, the big problem with boiling the leather is it will be really tough to actually punch through. So I probably want to do the punching first, which is also quite difficult. But I don't know how to tackle that. Maybe I'll try it, maybe I won't. For the time being, there's still a couple of things we have left to do, so let's try those. Let's finish this up, I should say. So we don't need any of these anymore. We had enough string, by the way, so for once, good thing. We're going to remove the material that we don't really want to be on here anymore, which is primarily the glue that has seeped out, but also the old burnishing. Say old, it's only been a couple of weeks. But yeah, that's getting the glue off here, the dried up glue, is kind of what we want. Much more important than the rest. And it also means we now have a little bit of stability with the blade inside, so it could make it easier to work on. It is great. All right. Yeah, it's still not perfect. Like from the, you can see where the high points in the material are. So for the future, leave more room on the outside. Be more generous with that. Like the 5mm could have been a centimeter easily. Doing that with the board leather again, I don't know how that will pan out. Will be an interesting test though. Not quite sure whether I want to do that on the stuff that my dad gave me to work on. So I'm also not sure whether I actually want to screen that. I don't think so. I'm not sure whether I want to get that into a video one way or another. I'm entirely honest. Yeah, I gotta be a little bit careful over this side. Yeah, this now is mostly the correct material. No glue left on that end. Over here, we still have a little bit of grinding to do. But on this end, we also have a lot more material to play with. We didn't screw up quite as badly. Oh, that looks okay. You can see like the shiny material where the glue is, but that is actually like the layer in between, so it's fine. With that being done, we can now go ahead and burnish this. And then we should be good. All right. Burnishing on. And that's a little helper. I'm not sure what this process does. I know that it darkens the material, and I know that it's a type of it does protect the leather from exposure. assume that the gun part in the name actually does mean something. That is a kind of natural gun which prohibits or prevents um, the elements from harming the open like side of the leather quite badly. All right, the first of this. Yeah, I do turn this as well, like as I work this in. I use the smaller one. Not really. So one of the things that you might want to use on this kind of build is there's an edge cutting tool. Again, I didn't use it here. It basically rounds the edges out a little bit. If I had more space, I probably would have used it, but some of these edges are very close, so I kind of don't want to. Again, all things considered, I think the other one is actually, well, it was easier to make, but it also looks nicer as a result. So, we'll see how the next one goes. Well, I'll see how the next one goes. And I think that will tell me how well or not well I'm doing in this. When it comes to the burnishing, I think there were some burnishing guns that were colored. So you could have something that actually makes this black on the side, or that makes it like the same reddish color as this one, the same reddish brown. I went with a natural one because most of the leathers that I have are more naturally colored, and even those that are like, colored, they kind of are colored through. So while the side should be darker, and you can already see that it will be darker, a lot darker, it would still look somewhat like the color used in, in the um, in coloring the material itself. So, yeah, I think this will do the trick. It will do nicely, and with that, this can now go to the kitchen. I will dry it. I will let the burnishing gum dry out. There's still a little bit of stuff on this, but that's fine. We'll let it dry out. We'll apply a second coat afterwards, and then that would be done. I will post a photo of that once it's done, and I'm not sure whether I will do another leatherworking video. At least probably not right away. As I said, there are a couple of things that I need to do when it comes to reconfiguring my room that I'm working in, and there are a couple of things that I want to do when it comes to preparing some actual video releases. There's one video release that I want to make about getting into hobbies in general, or the general principles that you can stick to make it a fun and worthwhile experience, even if you don't like it in the end, or even if you don't make it a hobby in the end. So creating the process in a way that makes it enjoyable as a process, and then the other thing is about getting into streaming in particular. Not necessarily YouTube, but YouTube and Twitch will be the prime example. And yeah, streaming, making videos, creating channels, all that kind of jazz. What you need, what you should have if you plan on doing this. What's the kind of minimum requirement where you can go for that? There's very cheap options out there that you can go with. For instance, my character, which wasn't the cheapest, the character that I created for this is that I commissioned an artist for that for a full commercial, exclusive commercial license. that stuff costs money. If you go onto Fiverr, you have to check with the people that make your stuff on Fiverr on whether that is an exclusive license, for instance. For most of them, that might not be the case. I know some of them do this, but they tend to be on the more expensive side. I've seen everything from like non-commercial use, and that will, or non-exclusive use, and that will cost you like $25 to get a fully established channel set up. Well, they're not just setting up the channel; they kind of do all the artwork that is normally associated with a Twitch or YouTube channel, banners and logos and all that stuff. Maybe even streaming transitions and backgrounds and all the UI that you kind of need. Which for this one, I still don't have. I kind of want to change this layout a little bit around for iOS streams and gaming streams. Although gaming streams are, well, technically neither of them needs it, but I kind of want to make it a little, make it look a little bit nicer. Um, as for what you really need, it's basically just like for live streaming a camera, and for making videos, you need some program to make videos in. There's a ton of them out there that are actually free. Some of them that are more or less powerful. That's all on you. The rest is essentially free. Like really, as soon as you have a device that you can do the thing on that you want to do, like whether that's recording a video on your phone, for which you need a phone, or whether you want to like the live streaming is covered by that. You can just record those live streams on a phone. But if you want to do like gaming content, well, you need a device that you do gaming on. And from that device, you need to be able to stream in some way. But I'm quite certain that, and I don't know because I don't own a PlayStation current gen or last gen. I think the latest gen that I have here is PlayStation 3. I've never owned an Xbox or anything from Nintendo. Well, my sister owned a Game Boy, like original Game Boy. But that's about it. So I have no idea how the streaming integration is nowadays on those devices. I assume that it's quite good, at least on the Twitch side. On the YouTube side, I wouldn't know. I assume that there are enough people that have experience with that. You could find a tutorial online on how to do that. But for PC gamers, yeah, you have a PC or laptop that you can play games on. So you're already set up for everything. With the laptop, it will have a camera included, so you are already set up to start your streaming career. If you want to live streaming or game live streaming or one and the other, in the same way that I do. But yeah, lots of things to talk about there. This will be done by, well, either tonight or tomorrow, and then I'm gonna add some photos to that. Probably gonna reduce this a little bit. Maybe not because it's natural string, so it doesn't really melt. The beeswax might do something for that, but we'll see. Okay, that's it for this stream. I'll probably take an hour break and then I'll do some gaming stream. Maybe Horror Cure, maybe something else. Probably Horror Cure. Although, what haven't I done in a while? Well, there's lots of stuff that I haven't done in a while. I don't think I'll do another view rising. I've done 2 Atlas Fallen streams. Well, technically 3. Let's say 2. Ton of Horror Cure. I could do some Captain of Industry. I did not continue that. So we might do this. We might do Captain of Industry. Alright. That's for now. I'll see everybody in an hour. So, bye-bye.